Okay, under normal circumstances, you would sketch out a new website on a piece of paper just to get your ideas down. Since I'd rather have you view this process as I go along, and it's kind of hard for me to videotape myself sketching on a piece of paper, I'm actually going to do that on a new Photoshop file. So here I have a blank slate. I am going to think about how I want to design for a website that's going to talk about a specific kind of robot. We'll pretend that I'm going to make a website about this robot right here. So I need to think about first colors that would kind of go well with this red robot, which is kind of an obnoxious shade of red, and then how I'm going to organize and lay out the actual website. So I'd kind of start by sketching, and again, let's just pretend that I'm going to do this on a sheet of paper. So I'd probably have the header up here, and maybe I'd have a picture of the robot kind of in this general area, these little robot antenna things, and we'll give them a smiley face. Anyway, fairly standard to have the header up there at the top, hence the name header. I could either put the navigation along the width of the website, or I could put it along the side, either on one side or the other. In this case, I think I'm going to make the navigation be along the top of the website. And you know what? I draw just as badly in real life on paper as I do here using the Wacom tablet. So now I need to think about, okay, what kind of things am I going to have in there? Probably home for the home page. I like to call it main as opposed to home, because I think home sounds a bit like your personal page back on GeoCities, whereas main is a bit more professional, but it's up to you. I'd probably have about, so an about page, about the robots, about the page. I would have maybe where to buy. Down here I'd probably have a contact button. And then I can kind of fool around with, do I need any sort of content in here? Maybe I do. Maybe links on resources where to build your own robot. So I'm planning this out, and hopefully you will draw straighter. So then maybe I'll have the main body stuff all the way along the width here. I could put a picture of the robot here, but then I have his picture here, the robot, and then I have a picture here. It kind of makes it heavy on the right side of the page. So maybe instead of doing that, I'll actually put a picture here. Maybe another shot of the robot, maybe from the other side, or a close-up of his face or something like that. And then I can have the actual text along here. I might even have a footer, and here's where I can put some copyright info. So now with that in mind, I would probably consider a few other ways in which to design this website. But for the sake of brevity, I'm going to go with this. So with that in mind, I will start making the actual website. So now I feel like I'm sort of ready to go ahead and start messing around with the actual site. So go to File, New, and I think I'm going to set the width at 1000 and the height at, let's say, 650. The height is a little bit arbitrary because you will actually determine that by the amount of content that you have. So a website tends to stretch over time as you add more content. I happen to have the little robot in my clipboard, so I'm just pasting him in via Control-V. So now I need to figure out, how do I want this Robot Attack website to appear? What sorts of images would I like to use with it? What sorts of colors? Well, because he's kind of a bright red, we don't really want to make a whole website that color. It would kind of hurt the eyes. So I think that we can successfully make one in a different shade. I will make the background of the website either a gray or blue. I was kind of tinkering with this earlier. I tried the gray, and it seems a bit drab. So instead I'm going to try that kind of steel bluish thing going on. Well, then we still have the issue of there's these white areas that I didn't quite cut out. So this overall background area you might set as the HTML color if you were building a website for real with this. I'm going to then, I made a new layer, now I'm going to make the actual page itself, or what would be the page in theory. And I can maybe have him sort of peek up over the page, maybe stick him on the corner right there. And maybe I'll give him a style. I can either have him glow like that, or if I set it to multiply and then dark, I can have him kind of get a shadow. But then you can notice some of the problems that I had there, cutting him out entirely, so I'm going to bring that down just a little. Okay. I don't know if I care for that. Well, we'll go back and fix it later. So here we are with the page. Now I need to have the page title somewhere so that people know what kind of page this is. So we're going to say, of course I can't see it very well because it's a white font. What I might do then is take down the size. Actually, sometimes you're going to find out that you'll make happy mistakes, meaning you'll just accidentally drop something somewhere and it'll look right. To me, this looks about right. I kind of like that it's touching the bottom there. Originally I was going to go with red, so let's test that out and see how it looks. The red's going to be really hard to see on that blue steel background unless I add like a glow to it, and frankly it's just plain hard to read. I could go with yellow, taking from the yellow on the actual robot, and that's not all bad. But I really do kind of like the look of the white. I'm just not sure that I'm really feeling the font. So I'm going to go up here under Character, and then Character is actually Font Style. And I'm going to look for a font that is kind of maybe futuristic or something. Let's see here. And you're going to have different kinds of fonts on your computer. It's kind of trial and error, to be honest. Now this could be appropriate. Notice though that it's kicking the attack word down to the bottom. That's because I'm going to have to stretch this out a little bit more to give it more room, but there's still, it's too wide. So I'm going to use the AV, you'll see here this little icon, it's basically not adjusting anything called AV, it's adjusting the space between the letters. And I'm going to bring that down a bit. And I'm actually going to maybe even bring it down to 100. There's a lot of room in this font. Some fonts you will find that is not the case. Now I could make this a little bit larger. Let's try that and see what happens. So we kind of run into the same problem. Well, what if I do 200? So here we go. Oops. By the way, if you ever hit the number pad and something like this happens, don't be alarmed. It just brought down the opacity. So we'll bring that back up. What I was trying to hit was actually the arrow key to move this stuff around. I kind of like it sitting right there on top of the white so that it flows into it. I'm going to line this up so that the R is in line with the edge of the website. So I can add some different kinds of effects to that later. What I'm going to do right now though is save. This is really important. Sometimes Photoshop will crash. In fact, I've had quite a few problems with CS4 myself. So here we are at this stage then. So we're kind of getting there. It sort of looks like the idea that I was having before. And as you design, you may decide that your mock-up wasn't quite what you wanted. You may have a happy accident. You may have an unfortunate one. But you may come across a design that you just plain like better than how you actually designed it in the mock-up. So next up then, I'm going to figure out where do I want my text. I think I want it right here in this general vicinity. And then I would still maybe make a footer designation at the bottom. The menu, perhaps I will put underneath the robot. So if you'll remember, originally we were going to have the menu across the top. No, I think the menu should go right there. He's kind of standing on it. That could be cool. That stuff I would do in CSS.